Survival Hunter is going to be one of the strongest DPS classes in the entirety of Cataclysm expansion. They'll remain one of the most powerful raid DPS all the way until the final raid, and they're probably going to be one of the most stackable classes that any raid will bring in 25-man scenarios. So of course, let's break down everything you need to know about Survival Hunters in Cataclysm Classic. And we'll start with one of the main changes, which you've already seen in the pre-patch, but Hunters no longer have mana. Instead, you have focus, basically the same thing that your pets have. So you will spend focus on some of your main abilities like Explosive Shot and Black Arrow, and then you will regenerate focus over time at a rate of 6 focus per second, but you will also gain more focus back whenever you use Cobra Shot. So Cobra Shot is your new filler. It's basically steady shot, but it has the added bonus of refreshing your Serpent Stings. And because we have focus now instead of mana, we no longer need Aspect of the Viper. Our new aspect that we have is called Aspect of the Fox. And this one's just used while moving because it allows the hunter to cast Cobra Shot whenever you are moving. So that's the only time you will use this, but when you are standing still, you will always use Aspect of the Hawk. And on the topic of moving, hunters will now continue to cast Auto Shot while you are moving. This is just a very nice quality of life change. You can continue moving and using all of your abilities, especially if you go into that Aspect of the Fox, and then you can also cast Cobra Shot and just have a full rotation while moving. The only downside of moving at all is quite literally you lose sniper training, but we'll get to that later. Now let's take a look at your talent build. This is going to be the standard talent build that you're pretty much going to run almost every time. There's a little bit of variation that you can do, but you're going to go into improved Serpent Sting. You're also going to get 3% haste just from pathing. You do want to get Trap Mastery. Of course, Lock and Load. This allows you to use multiple explosive shots, but it's a little bit different than Wrath of the Lich King, and we'll talk about that during the rotation. Then you do need to grab Hunting Party. This is where the hunter will bring the raid buff, the attack speed raid buff for melee and ranged attack speed, 10% ranged attack speed. Then we have Noxious Stings, which increases your damage to the target by 10% as long as you have Serpent Sting up. And you only grab 1 point into Serpent Spread, then 3 points into Sniper Training, which is why you like to stand still for a lot of times, because if you stand still for more than 6 seconds, you do get a buff of 15% crit to your kill shot and 6% damage to your Cobra Shot. And then we have Black Arrow, which will now be in our rotation. Then in the other trees, we have a little bit in the Marksman. Efficiency is amazing. These points are not absolutely necessary, but you probably will end up going with this, and one with Nature. Now, if we look at our glyphs, there is 2 selections for our glyphs a little bit. The ones that will always stay the same is Explosive Shot Glyph. Glyph of Explosive Shot is basically your highest damage dealing ability. Most of your damage is coming from Explosive Shot, so you want to increase the damage of it so you get crit on that. Then we have Kill Shot Glyph, which also makes Kill Shot hit harder. This will buff all of your damage during execute phases, and Kill Shot does an incredible amount of damage. Then this is the one that you can make a little bit of a choice. Glyph of Serpent Sting increases the crit chance of Serpent Sting, which can now crit, as you can obviously tell, and Arcane Shot. Arcane Shot basically is going to be a focus dump now, which you will only ever use above about 70 focus. And this is the one that most standard builds will show you. They sim about the exact same DPS, and Serpent Sting is way more useful overall throughout a raid, especially if there's more than one target. So if they're basically the exact same damage, I would basically always suggest to go with Serpent Sting over Arcane Shot. You probably won't have that many chances to use Arcane Shot, at least just yet, until you get a lot more gear and until you get your tier set. So just know Serpent Sting will probably be the better choice for you, but you can choose between the two. And as for major glyphs, the only one that really matters is Trap Launcher. Trap Launcher reduces the focus cost of your Trap Launcher, and you will obviously be using your Trap Launcher quite often, especially on multi-target fights. You might not use it at all on single target, but we'll get to the rotation soon. Then the most obvious choices are Raptor Strike, which reduces the damage you take after using a Raptor Strike, and also Disengage. This is a very good one, reduces the CD of Disengage, gives you a lot more mobility. All of the other ones, just you can look at them and choose from over Raptor Strike if you need to. These are the standard glyphs that you will use. And then for minor glyphs, you can choose for yourself, but I would always choose Feigned Death, which reduces the cooldown of Feigned Death. And then as personal preference, I would choose Revive Pet, so you can revive your pet more often, and Glyph of Aspect of the Pack, which increases the range of Aspect of the Pack. But again, this is all up to your own personal choice and not going to really increase your single target DPS. Now let's look at the rotation for Survival Hunters. It's probably what you're all wondering about. And the Survival Hunter rotation is actually pretty similar to the rotation Rotation in Wrath of the Lich King. It is a priority system where Explosive Shot will always take the highest prio, followed by making sure Serpent Sting is up on the target, but you only ever have to cast this once. Then we have Kill Shot, which is purely during the execute phase, followed by Black Arrow, which puts a dot up on the target. Black Arrow is always going to be in your rotation on single target fights, but instead of Black Arrow, if there are more than one target, literally even 2 targets or 3, anything more than that, you will, instead of Black Arrow, you will use Explosive Trap. You can follow that with Arcane Shot as a focus dump when you are above 70 focus, only as a focus dump, and do not use this too often. And then we have Cobra Shot as our focus generator, as well as our filler ability. So what that really looks like is to make sure you have Hunter's Mark on the target. You can also pre-trap in almost every fight situation if you know where it's going to be tanked, because your traps will stay down for 60 seconds now. So you use Trap Launcher and then throw your trap. You have to kind of macro these together, and I'll show you the macro right now. Just use Trap Launcher and throw the explosive trap. So you're going to use your trap beforehand, but in a single target fight, you will not use the trap ever again. You will use Black Arrow instead, because they obviously share a cooldown. You can open with Explosive Shot to get it on CD instantly, then put up your first Serpent Sting, then use Black Arrow, and then you move into your filler rotation, basically using Cobra Shot as often as you can. And whenever you get lock and load procs from your Black Arrow, you will use them always on Explosive Shot. The only thing is that's different from Wrath of the Lich King is that you don't have spell ranks anymore, so you cannot use Explosive Shot 3 times in a row with the macro. You now need to fill with another ability in between, but make sure you're not clipping that Explosive Shot, which means you want to either use an instant cast ability like Explosive Shot, Black Arrow, Explosive Shot, Arcane Shot, Explosive Shot, or you want to be at the haste soft cap, which we'll get to when we get to stats, because then you can use Explosive Shot, Cobra Shot, Explosive Shot, Cobra Shot, Explosive Shot. And what I mean by clipping is basically what you're going to see right now. If I were to put the dot of Explosive Shot up right now, I can basically use it and the dot lasts on the boss for 2 seconds. If I were to use Explosive Shot right away again, the dot doesn't go all the way through and you're wasting a ton of damage. So you don't want to clip that. That's basically your highest priority, but always focus on using Explosive Shot. Then for AoE situations, your priority changes significantly because multi-shot now hits every target and it'll also put up Serpent Sting on all of those targets. So your priority now goes to multi-shot as the main prio, followed by Explosive Trap. And we have Kill Shot as your next prio, followed by Black Arrow, then Cobra Shot. You will only use Explosive Shot now in major AoE situations when you have lock and load procs, but you're going to be prioritizing getting those multi-shots out. And as for cooldowns, we really only have 2, Rapid Fire and Call of the Wild. Both of these will be used, just macro them together. Even you can macro them with your potion, but you're probably going to pre-pot, but you can macro these together and use these at the beginning of the fight, especially during Bloodlust, then use them as soon as they come back off cooldown. Now let's look at our stat priority. The stats we want to go for are as follows. You'll start with Agility as your main stat, followed by Hit Rating. You need to get to soft cap, which is 8%. That is 961 hit at level 85. Haste Rating to those soft caps so you can fit those Cobra Shots in between the explosive shots, then Crit Rating, then Mastery and Haste. You'll usually or almost always just reforge your Mastery and extra haste to Crit Rating once you have hit your soft caps already. And as for pets, we now have the option to have 5 pets on us at one time, not even needing to go to the stables because we have call pet options, so you can switch all between them. Pets now also bring raid buffs, like right now if I'm using the wolf, it brings the 5% crit buff, which is probably going to be most people's go-to pet, but you're going to switch pets depending on the situation as well as what raid buffs you have at the time. And there's 3 main types of pets now, but 2 types that you'll use for DPS. Ferocity pets, which will usually be the highest DPS for you, Cunning pets, which are also decent for damage, and Tenacity, which is basically a tank spec pet. You won't use these really in the raids. You're either using a Cunning or Ferocity, but most of the time you'll use Ferocity, which talents will look like this. And that should be a full breakdown of everything you need to know about survival hunters in Cataclysm Classic. I'll make a video about marksman hunters as well as blood decays and rogues very soon, but if you like this or want me to make any other Cataclysm videos, definitely let me know in the comments. As for gems, I guess I should have gone over that really quickly, but as for gems, you will use Glinting for agility and hit. You will always try to prioritize getting agility, so Delicate for agility and Deadly for agility and crit. So those are going to be your gems. Anyways, guys, if you like this, of course, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date all things World of Warcraft and other games coming soon. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.